Joining us now is the Democratic governor of the great state of California, Gavin Newsom, who has decided to himself wade into the world's most pleasant spin room in the wake of this debate. Governor Newsom, it's nice to see you. You look like you're having a great time.
I'm having a great time, but if that was the best moment for Mike Pence, it wasn't a great night for our Republican friends. I mean, objectively, what are we going to be talking about, Rachel, in 72 hours? I'm still getting over the Pence comment about the sex joke, and I don't say that pejoratively. Honestly, it was a little strange, and I know you guys showed the clip, but that was a nothing burger. Honestly, more disappointed in it than I was expecting.
Well, we've got this unusual situation where everybody knows that this is kind of it's not a sideshow, but it's a second stage when you've got a de facto nominee already on the Republican side, but he's somebody who's got 91 felonies pending against him. And you've got these other people who are also running, none of whom seem to be attracting any interest from Republican voters at all. And I don't want to ask you to advise your Republican friends there, but I do have to ask if you think that the Republican primary process has a purpose and whether tonight's debate had a purpose, whether it did any good.
I mean, selling ads, perhaps. But you're right. It was the XFL. It was the JV team. I thought, and I mean this, I'm not just trying to even play games here. I thought it would be more of a vice presidential debate, but I wasn't even convinced that we saw the next vice presidential nominee for Donald Trump on the stage. So look, from Trump's perspective, tonight was great. There was no great breakout. There was feeble attempts to take shots at Trump for not showing up. But I honestly, and I mean this, I know I'm in the spin room. I know I'm with you, Rachel. I really believe the winner tonight was the Biden agenda. They identified problems. Biden's not only identified solutions, he's gotten them passed in a bipartisan way to address so many of the issues the Republicans brought up. They brought up no other alternative strategy to meaningfully address the issue of inflation, to address the issue of continued economic growth. They offered nothing in the way of international foreign policy that was particularly novel. So I thought Biden, honestly, was the big winner tonight.
In terms of some of the specific proposals that we did hear from these candidates tonight, one of the, I think, more memorable proposals possibly was former Vice President Mike Pence saying that he would solve school shootings by instituting a fast death penalty process, a federal expedited death penalty for school shooters, and he attacked Governor Ron DeSantis for the fact that the Parkland shooter is alive and behind bars and hasn't been killed yet. Just wanted your reaction to that.
Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. He's been saying this now for months. I cringe every time I hear this. Has anyone read any of these manifestos? I just finished the Buffalo Manifesto. In every one of these manifestos, they talk about the fact that they believe they're either going to be killed or they're going to take their own life. What a joke that somehow is a deterrence. Number one killer of our kids is guns. And that was a solution tonight. That was a debate. The next president of the United States around how to deal with mass shootings. I don't want to say disqualifying, but honestly, for a former vice president, pathetic.
Let me ask you also about some of the discussion tonight about the auto workers strike. Obviously, this is all three of the big American auto companies, United Auto Workers, a strike that is very painful for their members. And honestly, in terms of the politics and the optics of it, a strike where a lot of Americans very much feel for the auto workers, especially given what we know about the record profits that the industry itself has been enjoying. We saw President Biden literally on the picket line with striking workers. Yesterday, we saw former President Donald Trump tonight. Instead of attending the debate, he was invited by management to a non-union firm where he criticized auto workers and criticized unions there. We also saw Tim Scott tonight say that the real problem is that workers are asking for too much. I have to, it feels like it's sort of visiting from another planet, these politics, but I have to ask your assessment of that as well.
Well, number one, I was really proud to see the president on the picket line. It was one of the best days, I think, in months. It is great to see him out there with working folks. And it was also not lost on me, the assault, the attacks on, quote unquote, union bosses, meaning union leaders. that all they want is a fair living wage. All they want is their fair share. And for all the rhetoric, Republicans try to be populist, and they talk about finding attachment to blue-collar workers. They offered nothing tonight. The rhetoric from Scott was reprehensible. The rhetoric from the others was, again, more union bashing, which we've heard over and over and over from Republican candidates. It was very stale. And as you said, I mean, the idea that Donald Trump can lay claim to any association with these striking workers, and then he goes to a non-union shop, again, another point of fundamental contrast between the two visions, daylight and darkness, Biden, Trump.
And Governor, we've remarked here, and I've remarked here since we started our coverage, our response tonight, that for all the discussion of law and order and rule of law and the problem of crime and standing up for law enforcement tonight, it's just this big, obvious non-reference to the leading Republican candidate for president, who is facing felony criminal charges in 4 different jurisdictions right now. That's just fundamentally, capital A, awkward. But the other thing that all the candidates were trying to do tonight was cast aspersions specifically on California, name-checking cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles, describing them as unlivable because of crime, and that being a problem that the Democratic Party and President Biden and governors like yourself should have to answer for. So let me give you a chance to respond to that as well.
Well, it's a hell of a thing. I mean, Jacksonville and Miami have substantially higher murder rates than L.A. and San Francisco. Jacksonville, Florida, and Miami, Florida, have higher murder rates than New York City. 8 out of the top 10 states in America, 8 out of the top 10 murder states are all red states. I don't know why they didn't bring that up. Why haven't they brought up property crime rates and violent crime rates in Tennessee and Arkansas, in South Carolina? They omitted all of that. It's the same old stale rhetoric, and their narrative doesn't fit the facts. We have to confront that more forcefully. That's an issue I'm very mindful of. We also have to confront the fundamental issues around retail theft and crime generally. All of us have to own that. But the spin is just that. And I think it's really important that the facts are brought to light and life. And we have a responsibility to do that as Democrats, not just in terms of responding to their assault, but I think a more proactive education, including, by the way, we're the most energy independent we've ever been in our history. Mike Pence may want to look that up as well.
California Governor Gavin Newsom, the most popular man in the spin room in Simi Valley tonight. We want to get off your dance card because we know we have lots of others who are trying to get on, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be with you, Rachel.